Good morning, everybody. Various people appearing here. Good morning, Linda. Hi, Richard. You guys are all going to be on mute for the time being, but we'll just get everyone in. More people arriving as we speak. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. Wonderful. And I'll just keep my eye on the waiting room while people are joining in. But for those that have joined already, very warm welcome. This is the second part of our week of 5 stages of Appreciative Inquiry. Yesterday, we kicked off with a very nice webinar on the subject of defining kindness, which some of you may have attended. I can see on the attendees, some of you were there. Moving on today to discover kindness, and then we'll move throughout the week dreaming about kindness, getting to defining what the future might look like, and doing kindness we'll be talking about on Friday. Just admitting some more from the waiting room there. Morning, everyone else who's just joined. A very warm welcome to everybody to the second part of our series of 5. And the question really we're addressing this week is, how will we sustain kindness, both throughout and after this phase that we're in at the moment? And we might not find all of the answers this week. It's not really, someone yesterday, one of the panelists was talking about kindness is a heart thing. It's not just a head thing. So this year, this week, we're absolutely engaging our hearts as well as our brains. And we might not find all of the logical answers. Kindness and society, we're complex beings. But nevertheless, we can create our own futures and we can create positive energy. And one of the principles of Appreciative Inquiry is that people and things are more likely to change if people feel good about it. So that's probably our first objective for this week, is to feel good about it. And that's not just a luxury, that's a very helpful part of change. That's a great lever for change. And the conversations that we're having, the connections we'll be making increasingly throughout the week will be helping with all of that. So the objectives for the week: feel good, have great conversations here and outside as well. So I hope the connections we'll make today. Today's going to be quite a lot more interactive than yesterday's webinar. And that's both by design. Also, some of the participants in the webinar yesterday were feeding back. We're really keen to interact more. So we'll do that today, absolutely. All with a view to helping to sustain and grow kindness. So the agenda for today is, first of all, an introduction from me and a bit of an orientation from Katie. And then we will break straight out into groups and have a chance to introduce ourselves to each other, at least in small subgroups. And then we'll get into that. Katie will share a bit about the results of our survey, which we've been running. We've got about 100 respondents from the last couple of weeks. And so we'll look a bit at that. Before we get into the main body of this session, we'll be actually working groups, getting into breakout rooms and discovering more about kindness. Where has it been working? Where are our favorite examples? Where do we see it absolutely thriving? Where do we get energy from kindness? What is it that makes us feel good about kindness? And really within those groups, I'd encourage you to allow yourselves to feel really good about it, because that is agent of change, not just the information, but the feelings as well. We'll then come back and one person from each group will share with the plenary session. So there'll be a chance to hear from the different working groups and breakout groups. And that will pretty much wrap up our session for today. So before 11:30, we'll be talking about next steps and wrapping up the session. And a little bit about why we're talking about kindness. And the Mental Health Awareness Week is spearheaded by the Mental Health Foundation, which is a national research organization. Their job is to find out and research in detail, how does mental health work and what more can we do about it? And I noticed a few years ago, they really started saying, well, talking to people and each other really helps. So let's do more of that. So they sponsored a lot of events and, well, encouraged us to have lots of events, which is partly why I'm on a sort of conversation and connection mission. But this year they've replaced their original topic, which was sleep. Clearly very important, so they'll deal with that another time. But they thought there's so much kindness, and kindness is so central to well-being, that let's talk about that. And their chief executive, Mark Rowland, says we've chosen kindness because of its singular ability to unlock our shared humanity. A pretty powerful statement, I think. And also he went on to say kindness strengthens relationships, develops community, and deepens solidarity. And there's a wealth of academic research that shows how good it is for us to be good. Being good is good for us. And I think that with the right support and the right connections and conversations, we can come through challenges stronger than we went in. So I think I've probably talked about why we're talking about it. We create our own futures, and our survey actually backs up the idea, which our communities around here are saying, that it's not just acts, but also thoughts and feelings and consideration and values and conversations and connections. These are things which support kindness, and these are muscles that we can develop by talking about kindness. And kindness is a social thing. It's something we do together. It doesn't exist on its own. And we can be kind to other individuals, but we can also be kind to groups, and we can even be kind to nature, to animals, to plants, to the planet. And those levels of kindness are equally important. And all of this is good for us. And on a more inbound direction, it's not just, or maybe on a more of a note of where does the responsibility lie? It's not just down to individuals, but societies, groups, communities, nations can be kind, and governments can also be kind. So this is part of what we'll be discovering and exploring throughout the week. But my belief is that kindness happens by talking about it. Good things happen by sharing, by making connections, by fueling the fires and creating that and building that energy. And kindness both strengthens relationships, but also relationships also strengthen kindness. And that's what we're all about here. So finally, before I hand over to Katie, I'll and give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves to each other. A summary from yesterday's webinar. Those of you who attended will hopefully recognize the themes from 5 panelists. First of all, Kim Conchi from the, he's the CEO of the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce, mentioned lots of things, but he said that in business it's important to be kind because it's very good for your own self-confidence and for those that you're working with. So it's good for business. And also he did mention that kindness can sometimes be confused with softness, and that he's had to learn to continue to be kind, but not allow himself to be mistaken for a soft touch. So I thought that was quite an interesting sort of admission there. And then Emma Rose, who's the chair of the Board of Trustees of Volunteer Cornwall, talked about conscious practice. And from her knowledge of Buddhist wisdom, how conscious practice, kindness can be a conscious act. It's something that we can do by mistake or by on a whim, but it is actually something we can do deliberately. And that's a central tenet of Buddhist philosophy and of her yoga practice as well. And that led on to Ben Shano, who's a senior psychiatrist, talking about the world's wisdom. Kindness belongs to the world. We all know how to do it. It's something we all have in common. Even animals can be kind. And this is a wisdom that we can tap into. Helen Tite, who's a well-being anarchist, self-proclaimed, and also runs an organization called I Care, I Move, helping people to move and stay fit in the health and care sectors as well as elsewhere. And she talked a lot about vulnerability and the importance of being vulnerable, which I thought was maybe connected back to Kim's points about being kind and allowing yourself to show vulnerability. And then we had the wonderful Mac and Laura from Our Atlantic Roots, who gave us a live performance, but also touched on for them the importance of music, but how small effects can make a massive difference. And that made me think of the old butterfly effect from chaos theory, when we started to learn that, and there's like maths that describes how a butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon rainforest, and it creates a different weather system in Europe. And it happens. That's just the way the world works. It's incomprehensible to our conscious minds, but small effects can make a massive difference. And as Laura and Matt mentioned, kindness is contagious. So these small acts can spread, and spread very fast and well and positively and powerfully. So that's it from me. I just wanted to set up the session and put it in context for the week. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining. I hope you have a really enjoyable session today. There'll be a lot of interaction, a little bit of interaction with me, but mostly with each other. So I hope you have some great conversations and a great week. Obviously, I'm going to be here and there's chat, so we will interact. But I'm going to hand over now to Katie to set up how that's all going to work. Thanks.